Hey, I think we're on. What's going on, everybody? All right. Hey, we only got 9 people here today, guys. We're going to do better than that. We're going to do better than that. Oh, we jumped to 11, 12. Hi, everybody. All right. Hi, Lisa Harner. All right, that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with shout-outs here tonight. Who all we got here? Chuck Abed Depoy, how you guys doing? How's life in Walpock? What if you guys much snow as we have? Amy Hogshead, how are you? Hey, Parker. Hey, Susan. Let's see who else we got here. Kelly Heitkamp. Hi, Kelly. Appreciate you tuning in here tonight. And Lisa Harner. Hope you guys are staying safe. Hope things are going well up in Lima. Things are interesting down here. So, all right. If you're in the chat, please say something so I give you a shout out. We're gonna go over a couple things here, and I'm not doing a musical performance for 10 people, so hopefully we get a few more people signed in here. Hey, all right. Well, let's. I was down here earlier this afternoon when I was setting all this up, and obviously I walked down here. I love the Beetle, and that's why the Beetle has a home in the garage. So I walked down here tonight, and I show up. I was down here earlier, and I got a story about that. But I was walking up toward the building tonight. I was coming past the Lutheran church, coming up to the building, and all the lights were on. And who do I find? Don Renninger is in the house, and he's upstairs working upstairs. So night like this, and 2 of your church staff are here in the building doing our thing. And I know if there's some way I could have got Parker down here, I know he'd have been here to be on this live stream with me. But I didn't want Don out either. But here we both are doing our thing, and I see Parker's in the chat, and I'm going to expect some insightful comments from you, my Rage Podcast co-host, and hope everybody's doing well. Hey, Val McAllister, thanks for tuning in. And anyways, I was coming down here earlier. It was about, I don't know, about the time I sent out the text. Came out about, I don't know, it was about 2:30, 3 o'clock, something like that. And between my house and here, I helped dig out 4 houses. I pushed out 2 cars. And I dug out the blessing box. So in case anybody comes by and wants something from the blessing box. So I did all that. It took me almost an hour to get down here from my house, which any of you who know where I live, doesn't usually take that long. And I pushed a mom and her kids out of a van, and another guy I pushed out of his driveway. So I did all that, got down here, dug out the blessing box. I came inside. I did a few things in here. And then when I left, the blessing box had blown completely closed. So it took, the about hour or so I was here, it took that much time to blow it close. I get back to my house, and the trail I dug to my garage was also blown closed. So we're having a great time out here tonight. How about any of you? Any of you do any shoveling today? Snow blowing? Any of the such to find out how futile that's going to be for the next few days? Anybody out there run a shovel today? Did you participate in that exercise of futility? And hey, Ange, thanks for joining us here tonight. And come on, we only got 9. I thought I got a lot more responses than that. I thought we'd have a few more people. So everybody may be having internet woes. Oh, Kelly was out digging out twice. That's super fun. So yeah. Is Sean able to keep in front of that, Val? Because I mean, honestly, everything was blown shut. Then when I came down here tonight, it was 4 hours now, and everything's just covered in. So, and it's still snowing to beat the band outside. I've got snow pants on. I've got snow boots on. I've got 3 layers of clothes on. Here's my pile of hats and stuff and gloves, and I about froze to death trying to get down here. Stayed in and baked cookies. Angie, I probably should have taken your approach on that. So, all right. Well, all right. I turn this off. All right, cool. So, all right. Well, let's everybody get in the chat. We're gonna run a flash poll here, and yeah, Val, you're right. He's not gonna be able to keep up tonight. It's supposed to taper off snowing, hopefully here in a little bit, but who knows? So everybody jump in the chat. I want you to tell me. I think Angie Myers already gave her answer, but I asked some of the rest of you who are here. Favorite cold weather food? What do you? Hi, Crystal. If you have anything you like to eat during when the weather's garbage like this, and let's see what we're going to vote for. So everybody, jump in the chat. Tell me what's your favorite cold weather food. Anybody got one? Joyce, you were outside shoveling 3 times. Why? Why? We need to get somebody over to Joyce's house to help with that. So, favorite cold weather food, guys. Go at it. What do we got? Ice cream. All right, Don. For the guy who walked over here, I call you crazy, but I did the same thing. Parker says anything I could find. I could identify with that. Lisa also said everything. Yep. Veggie soup. Good choice. Chili's a good choice. Chicken and noodles. All right. Soup and ice cream. That's an interesting thing there. Mashed potatoes with chili on top. All right. That's 2 votes for chili. Anything and everything does not move. Joyce, make sure Molly keeps running around. Molly is her dog, for those of you who don't know. Crystal says chili. Susan says French fries. Susan owns an air fryer, and so when she makes French fries, she has to eat them with her pinky finger up like this because she's a prep. She's an air fryer prep. So, yeah, any kind of soup. I had soup today. Mine came out of a can, so it wasn't homemade stuff. But yeah, I had some vegetable soup. Progresso, is that a soup brand? I think that's what it was I had today. Pretty good. So, all right, I think I've got about 13 responses and 13 of you here. So, one of the things I wanted to keep up with here, I got an agenda here that I want to get to tonight. Let's see here. Intro question: chicken and noodles. Scott Moran. Everybody get in the comments and say what up, Scott. Scott Moran, glad to hear from you, buddy. I hope things are going well. I know you were in the hospital earlier this week, and I hope you're home and I hope you're feeling better. But I am so happy you jumped on here tonight, and hope you guys are doing well. And if you're not able to be outside, don't worry about it. You're not missing anything. So that's one thing I found to be very interesting today. When I was walking down here earlier, and then when I was walking down here again tonight, I actually saw something I never, ever thought I would see. Shocked. And I'm not talking about piles and piles of snow. The thing that I saw coming down here tonight that I never thought I would see is I almost have to take a minute because I can't believe I saw this. I saw drivers in the city of St. Mary's driving slow and responsibly. I could not believe what I was witnessing. Actually being careful, thinking there may be somebody else on the road. I've never seen. It must really be bad that St. Mary's drivers are down to driving responsibly, because I was completely shocked beyond all belief to see that happen. And because I didn't know St. Mary's drivers had it in them, even if they did, have a once in a generation snowfall. So, Scott, you're on home. Very good, man. And glad to hear that. I hope you're feeling better. So, well, I tell you what, we're going to talk Super Bowl, which is a weird thing for me to talk about, considering I haven't watched an NFL game in what decade is this? It's been a long time since I've watched one. I don't follow football much anymore, but I did do a little research today because I know the Super Bowl is coming up, and that's something that some of you care about. And I found it interesting looking at the Super Bowl. The 2 quarterbacks are very different. The quarterback for the Rams is Matt Stafford. And I actually remember seeing some games Matt Stafford played in because back when I used to watch, he's been around for he was drafted in 2009. And I can remember him with the Detroit Lions. And boy, that man suffered up there with the Lions. He suffered pretty bad, with all due respect to all you Detroit Lions fans. But he spent 11 seasons in Detroit after he was drafted. And in all that time, he had 2 winning seasons in Detroit in all that time. So he ended up, I don't know if he got traded or moved or something, but anyways, he went from Detroit to the LA Rams and went to the Super Bowl his first year. So I'm kind of happy for him, and glad that he's getting some definitely some well-deserved recognition. However, I'm not going to be one of those guys who are like, well, I ain't rooting for the hometown team. Nah, we all want the Bengals to win, right? Everybody give me a hoo day in the comments. Root for the Bengals. Because the Bengals, on the other hand, where Matt Stafford has had this pretty much career-long drought of being able to play on a good team. An interesting stat about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, who is the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, they won their first playoff game since 1990. So I was in high school the last time the Bengals won a playoff game. And that was an incredibly long time ago. In fact, I think they were still playing with leather helmets back in those days. And so it's been a really long time. And he has already, if you guys remember from back in the 90s, the Bengals had a quarterback named Boomer Esiason. Some of you may remember him. Joe Burrow, whose first season in the NFL was last year, has already tied a franchise record with Boomer Esiason for the number of playoff wins. That's a little difficult. The Bengals have been a pretty sorry organization for a long time. So I'm kind of torn. I'd love to see Matt Stafford get a Super Bowl win because he suffered so long in Detroit. At the same time, the Bengals as an organization have suffered mercilessly for a long time. And I certainly would love to see them get a Super Bowl ring too. They've been denied twice. I was sort of hoping for actually a Bengals 49ers rematch, but that didn't happen. I remember that Super Bowl back in, I think it was 1989. And that was the last time the Bengals were, involved in postseason play. But yeah, so all right. Anybody got any? Let's see. Anybody? Any NFL fans here? Is there anybody in the chat who's an NFL fan? Because I got a bunch of who days from people, but I don't know if I've ever seen any of them wearing any Bengals attire. So Bengals fans, anybody? Who's going to win? Rams or Bengals? Put it in the chat, and let's see how many votes we get. Anybody's got the guts not to vote for the Bengals? So I'll give you guys a chance to jump in on that. As far as content for tonight, hey, go Browns. At least I would expect to go Browns from you. She's a big Cleveland girl. So, all right, got some Amy says the Bengals. Kelly says the Bengals. Anybody else? Going to make a prediction? Susan's vote. Susan is a huge Bengals fan. Actually, back in her cage fighting days, you guys may not know that about Susan. She's a former cage fighter. She really enjoyed football back in those days as well. So she's pretty scary when you give her the chance. And you all should ask her when you see her in person. Ask Susan about her cage fighting days. Boy, she was, she was a tough one, and won 47 bouts by knockout, and really enjoyed herself in that. So you have to ask her about that sometime. But anyways, yeah, as far as content tonight, Susan, don't be shooting me down here. Yeah, Scott, I'm root for the Browns, but we want to see the Bengals win. Yep, nobody's picking the Rams. This is not my surprise face. So how about some discussion from the sermon last week? Let's have some actual content here tonight and some different things to talk about. Any of you who have either listened to services online or were actually here know we're talking about the book of Esther. And would like to know if any of you have any feedback or comments or anything that you may want to ask or put out there about our journey through Esther. You'll know that the sermon series started 2 weeks ago, where we started about Queen Vashti and how the ladies who were in the group sort of rallied around her to protect her and watch out for her, and would not allow her to leave and go upstairs where she had been summoned by the dirty old men upstairs. And they were making a stand for her, a stand that she probably would not have been able to make herself. And so that was 2 weeks ago. And then last week we talked about Mordecai. Mordecai was he was he was Esther's adopted father, and he protected her, watched out for her, and provided for her when he had no obligation to do so. If you look in the line of who were responsible for the ladies in their life, cousins had no responsibility to each other. So for him to do that. It was simply out of the goodness of his own heart, and good for him. He clearly, as we're going to be finding out throughout the rest of the book, raised a very powerful and intelligent and faithful daughter in Esther. And and he only was able to do that because he was able to stand up to be able to be there for her when she needed him. And then last week we talked about Haman. Haman was, like I called him, I think in the sermon last week, the mustache twirling villain. He is he's going to represent a lot of bad stuff. He does a lot of evil things. He lies to the king. His ego definitely gets in the way. He wants to have this kind of racist thing to put Mordecai and his people in their place for no other reason than Mordecai says, I don't really know that I need to kneel to you. And so what do we got here, Val? Lorelai took a picture when you had the list for Mordecai and Xerxes, and she handwrote it for herself and her friend. It's on her dresser. She talked about that a lot. Well, Val, that's amazing. I will tell you that girls Lorelai's age should definitely be listening to this sermon from the book of Esther. She definitely is a good example of what to look for and what to avoid, because she has a lot of good. Well, she has at least one good man, and then she's got one bad man in her life, or two bad men in her life, Haman and Xerxes. And good. Well, I'm glad she did that. If you would like an actual picture of that slide from last week, Val, let me know, and I'll be happy to. I think I still have that slideshow. If not, I can find it, and I'll be happy to send that to you or provide that to any of you who are interested. Bev says, anyone see the sight and sound production of Esther last summer? It was great. The music and story fabulous. I know what Esther is, obviously, Bev. I don't know what sight and sound is. Is that a local production company, something in Walpock? I don't know what that is. Obviously, I didn't see it. But I could see Esther being a very good stage production, especially in the way it's written. It's not very common in the Bible that we get a lot of what we would call stage directions, but we actually do get some in Esther. So it would be a very interesting to have that interpreted on stage, and I'm sure that was very good. Did you get to go see it? And I'd be interested in hearing about that. Valerie, well, hit me hard last week. Not kneeling when you should. It stands powerful for a few situations. Maybe and I had a couple good conversations. Well, good. Very good. And Mordecai ends up being, get this out of the way here. Mordecai ends up being a very good example for that. He could very have easily just said, look, it's just easier to kneel. It's just easier to kneel and not have to deal with this. But he goes, at the end of the day, kneeling ain't right. And because it ain't right, I ain't going to do it. And man, hats off to Mordecai. It'd have been so much easier for him just to go down on a knee. And he said, no, I'm not going to do it. When obviously everyone else did. That's the part that gets me, is that he had to be the only one standing because Haman would have had no reason to even notice him. I mean, if everybody's standing up, so he had to know it was one guy not standing up, and that's a very interesting interpretation, because he was willing to stand when no one else was. Sight and Sound is in Pennsylvania, put out by a Christian college. I did not know that, Bev. Has it been anywhere around here? And where did you guys see it at? Brings a story right out of the Bible. Again, Esther is a very descriptive story, and put it on a theater in Branson. How about that? It's a very descriptive story where, by reading it and taking it in, it could easily be adapted to stage. So I bet it really was a cool thing. Did you say it was a musical? Sight and sound production. Oh, music and story were fabulous. Yeah. So I have to look that up. But yeah, Story of Esther's one. I mean, look, it's no secret. I mean, you guys have had to figure this out by now. I love me some Old Testament stories. And I think some of those Old Testament stories are amazing. Yes, Jesus is great, and I'm a huge Jesus fan. Don't get me wrong, but I really, really enjoy many of those Old Testament stories. I think they are just fabulous. And apparently Don knows about them. Sight and Sound is in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's Amish and Mennonite country. How about that? So, all right. Cool. I'd never heard of him. So yeah, that's great. And like I said, Esther would be a very easy story to put forward for that. All right, cool. So okay, I don't want to give away too much of my thunder. How about a sneak preview for? How about a sneak preview for next week? Next week. Oh, what in the world do I got here? Yeah, next week we're going to be continuing. I know this is a Queen Esther sermon series, and I know even knowing that we have spent a lot of time with Mordecai. We're going to talk about the final meeting and probably the most famous verse that comes out of Esther was where Mordecai says to Esther, you were probably made queen for just such a time as this. But there's a lot of very interesting things because Mordecai and Esther are going to meet face to face, and Mordecai is going to kind of explain what's going on, and Esther's going to, there's a lot of things going on with that. I don't want to give away too much of the sermon. I got to leave myself some stuff for Sunday, but it's a great story because this is the great kind of hero moment in the story where Esther says, "Yes, I'm going to make a stand and go and do these things," and that's great. Let's see. Angie says, "I watched Esther on YouTube last week." Was that from Sight and Sound, Angie? Is that what you were watching, or was it something else? Again, Esther is such a fantastic story. Many of you would do great to go and take a look at it. So, all right, muted that. Well, let's see here. What else you guys got? Anybody? Let's go. I wanted to do a segment tonight where you guys get to ask me questions. So I'm now opening it up to you. You guys on my schedule here. I put a question to you about the best cold weather meal. So now I'm going to give you a chance, and I'm talking here to fill the gap because I know there's a delay. To give me or to give me a question, and no, just on YouTube. Okay, Ange. And put a question out there. Who's got a question? Something you want to know, so we can discuss, talk about current events, scripture. Me personally, I got nothing to hide, and see what you guys want to know. And somebody, and if you're not coming up with a question, if you're typing a question, don't stop. But somebody open up another tab on your browser or something and look up a weather report. We're going to have a. In fact, I'm going to do that while I'm waiting on you. I'm going to type in here, see if we can get a minute by minute weather report going here. So, because it's got to quit snowing in here sometime, doesn't it? I'm hoping. My fingers are crossed because it was dumping snow on my way down here just 45 minutes ago. It was absolutely dumping snow everywhere. Having a look. And the Winter Olympics. Yeah, that is it. Have any of you seen any of the Winter Olympics commercials with the dinosaurs? I thought some of those were. It didn't really make any sense, but I thought they were kind of neat. Where the one with the skier and the T-Rex comes out. I have to say, if I was on a lonely mountain and a Velociraptor was chasing me, and then a T-Rex started coming out, that woman is way too calm for that situation. That. If there's ever been a situation where a freak out would be justified, it would be that. So I'm curious if any of you have seen any of those. They're promoting the Jurassic Park movie that's coming out, and that's coming out here, I believe, this summer, and they're promoting it along with the Olympics, and so they got Olympians, and one of them is Shaun White, who's doing the half pipe, and he comes out, and the dinosaur sneezes on him and stuff, and that's pretty cool. Curling. Amy Hogshead, you're the first person in my life I ever said that their favorite anything is curling. Are you sure you're not Canadian? I mean, I'm just asking. No offense. Snow slows down at midnight. I'm looking at the hourly report here, Crystal, and I think you're right. It looks like we dropped to about 50% right around midnight, but it's still calling for snow showers clear through 5 a.m. tomorrow. And then I'm looking at the temperature, and the temperature just goes down and down and down. We're down to, by this time tomorrow night, we're going to be in single digits, and it's going to stay there for Well, the foreseeable future. So, any hope that any of y'all had about melting snow, it ain't gonna happen tomorrow. So, wow, I'm looking at the 10-day forecast now. We're not going to get above freezing until when? One day we're getting to 34 next Wednesday. That's not going to melt any snow. And I'm looking down, clear through 2 weeks from Thursday, and we get to 36, and they're calling for more snow that day. So yeah, snow's going to be around a while, and I think that's. I hate that. So there we are. So Scott Moran likes curling too. So yeah, but Scott likes curling. Yeah, you got those little brushes where you scratch up the thing and make that big block thing stop. And Susan says not looking forward to clearing the driveway tomorrow. Yeah, but you should see the big Honda snowblower that she's got. It's a lot better than that shovel that I was using today, I can tell you. Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, any of you who tried to clean out your driveway today, you recognize what an exercise in futility that was, because it filled back in almost as quick as I get it cleared out. So, Val says, as long as I can get to Mason Saturday evening to get Lorelai to cheer camp on Sunday, even though she can't compete. Yeah, 75 should be cleared off by then. Val, I think you're gonna be all right with that. Puxatawny Phil saw his shadow. I hadn't heard that yet. Ah, dang it. That stupid gopher. So, yeah, I hadn't heard what the outcome was. I realized it was Groundhog's Day was, I think, yesterday. I hadn't heard whether or not he saw a shadow. What a bummer. That groundhog. Should never trust a groundhog anyways. So, yeah, that's a complete bummer. So, yeah, Don, that's one advantage of renting. No mowing or shoveling. Yeah. Bev says he's only correct 30% of the time. Yeah, but knowing our luck, this is going to be the year he's right. So, everybody's always like, well, we got to have this cold weather so that we can not have any bugs over the summer. Well, I'm telling you right now that this summer I better not have one bug land on me. Not all summer, because this is ridiculous. Has anybody heard? Have they canceled school tomorrow? Anybody heard? If I'm assuming it is, school's canceled tomorrow. I haven't heard. Kelly says yes. I'm assuming that yes was to me. So yeah. Oh, Parker. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Parker. I know you wanted to be on this podcast tonight, and it didn't work out. I am turning my phone back on. Parker, call me, and we want a Miley minute here. So, I'm getting all kind of texts here. Hi, Kate. I knew you'd be on here. Kate doesn't ever get in the chat. My Aunt Kate is here. Everybody say hi to Aunt Kate. Parker, if you want to call me, we'll get a Miley minute here for the podcast tonight. And canceled around 5:30. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I don't know what's going to happen with church on Sunday. They haven't plowed out the parking lot yet, and that's going to be interesting. So, all right, everybody, say hi to Parker. And Parker, don't listen to your computer. Listen to your phone, because there's a delay.
All right, I'll try.
Yeah. So, all right, everybody, there's Mr. Parker Miley. Everybody say hi, Parker. So, Parker, were you outside at all today?
I was for a little bit.
Okay. And did you do any shoveling?
We have probably like the one that Susan has, a big Honda snowblower.
So are you using that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Did you get your car out at all?
No. That's going to stay in probably for the next couple days.
Yep. Yeah. The Beetle is definitely not going to be highway bound this week. Yeah. It wouldn't have done you much good to blow out your stuff, because Like I said, I shoveled out my driveway. It closed up quick as I could. So why don't you tell the good people who are here, Parker, what they missed since we weren't able to have a 101 last night?
Well, the topic was going to be about worship.
Okay.
And what we were going to try to do is, break apart the what we have in a regular Sunday morning service. So we're going to obviously look at kind of like the order of worship, from why we have the prelude, how we light the candles, and the responsive reading and all those things, and give an explanation of why we do all those kind of weird things compared to any other meeting or group or organization like that.
Okay, so we're looking at communion, or not communion. We're looking at worship, and we'll be doing that next week. So any of you who are in 101 or looking forward to 101 will be there next week. So, so very good. So what else are you working on around the church, Parker?
Well, I'm getting my confirmation class all typed up, so I have my lesson ready to do that.
How many kids you got?
8 kids are in the class.
Okay, you got 8 kids in the class, and you and Doug Whitling are teaching, right?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So, all right. Well, anything else you want to enlighten us with, Parker?
Well, stay safe, everyone. Hopefully, you don't have to be on the roads too much.
Yeah, don't go outside. So, all right, very good. Thanks for the update, Parker.
Yep.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Yep. See ya.
Yeah, bye. All right, everybody. That was the one and only Mr. Parker Miley. Now you know you've had the local celebrity here with you. All right. I do have a question in the chat that I want to look at. Jan and I struggle with communion. Tell me more about this. Well, that's actually going to be covered under the 101 for next week when we talk about worship, because communion is certainly a part of worship. Communion is kind of the way we connect. I mean, obviously, communion. The root word to communion is community, and that's what's built around the table. Obviously, it comes from the Last Supper when Jesus said, "My body broken for you, my blood shed for you." He did that because that's what draws us together. We become the body of Christ in His presence, and when we come together in worship, or we come together in whatever else is going on, we get a chance to leave what's going on in the world outside for just a little bit. Step into His presence, and in that moment, we become part of the body of Christ. And in that, we have a chance to have some tangible pieces of that, meaning the representation of the broken body and shed blood of Christ. And it's in that moment that we get to experience community, because it doesn't matter. I mean, as long as you confess Christ as your Savior, that's the only prerequisite. You're welcome to come forward. There's no other factors that factor into that at all. And that's what enables us to be able to come forward to the table. That's why it's important for us. And I know Angie, working with Homebound Ministries, does a great job connecting our Homebound, and all the people who are part of that, because that, even though they're not able to be in the sanctuary, which obviously that would be optimal, it gives us a chance to be together and experience some togetherness, and know that in taking that communion, not only are you connected to your local church here at Wayne Street, but you're connected to churches all over the world who celebrate the same sacrament, maybe not in the same way, but certainly the same sacrament for the same reason. And that's what changes. It allows for us to experience that connection. That's so very important, especially now when everybody's so far apart, and because of everything going on, and it's going to get worse over the next couple of weeks because of this crazy weather that we're having. We're scheduled to have communion on Sunday. I'm hoping we're able to do that. We'll see. And that's going to be determined later. But it gives us a chance to come together and to experience some togetherness. One of the things about being friends, or being family, or being whatever. One of the things that makes that work is common experiences. I mean, you got to have common experiences, and having these common experiences, we grow up. I was thinking, last week, week before last, I think it was, I went up to my parents' house, and I took them over for eye doctor appointments. So we were driving over, and so the stuff we were talking about was stuff that we'd done years ago, adventures we'd had and crazy things that went on, and kind of laughing about some stories. And it's that shared experience that allows us to recognize how connected we really are. because we've had high times together, we've had low times together, had fun together, had awful times together, all that kind of stuff. And all those experiences are what make the relationship meaningful. And at the end of the day, that's what happened is that experience, those shared experiences become a part of our common faith. I mean, even this crazy thing we're doing here tonight, where I'm kind of talking off the top of my head, this is a shared experience. You're probably not going to have an experience here tonight that changes your life and set your whole life on a new trajectory, or that's probably not going to happen here tonight. But this is a part of being together. That's why I really wanted to do this, especially for those of you who haven't talked to anybody all day, which was me. I talked to Don upstairs before I came down here. It's the first person I've actually spoken to today. Had a kind of meaningful conversation that was basically I went upstairs and scared him half to death, and then we talked for a minute, and I asked him what the heck he was doing here, and he asked me the same question, and now here we are. But it's those shared experiences that allow relationships to grow. That we're talking about marriages, friendships, coworkers, families, and that's what communion provides for us, is a shared experience. And even if you meet another Christian, even if you don't know anything else about them, you know that communion, or you have at least a good reason to suspect that communion is going to be a part of their story, part of their experience of their walk with Christ. And it's in that experience that allows us to, know that we're a part of something greater than ourselves, which is the whole purpose of communion. And Parker asked, can you comment on open and closed communion? Also, why do we practice communion once a month? Okay, those are good questions. Open and closed communion, we Protestants have open communion. You walk into a Protestant church, you claim Christ as your Savior, and you couldn't be more welcome to go forward and partake, in a communion service. You can walk into a church, Protestant church you've never even been in before and don't know anybody there. But when we open the table for communion and start to serve, you will be absolutely positively welcome to come forward. That's open communion. We believe that your relationship with God is between you and God. We'll certainly be happy to assist and guide and help with that in any way that we can. But if you want to confess Christ as your Savior, which is what you do when you go forward for communion, you're confessing Christ as your Savior. That's good enough for us. Now, closed communion is what our Catholic sisters and brothers, that's what they practice, which means, and I'm sure in the community of St. Mary's, you all are familiar with this. If you go to a Catholic worship service, unless you're a member of the church, you're not eligible, I guess is the word I would use, for communion. The reason for that is they're looking for more demonstration of your devotion than just, I'm a believer. They want you to be a part of the ministry of the church, be a member of the church, sign on to all the doctrinal beliefs of the Catholic Church and that kind of stuff. They basically want that experience to be more grounded in more experiences than just confessing Christ as your Savior. Now, we Protestants, to an extent, would agree with that. Where our Catholic sisters and brothers think that communion is kind of the goal to get to in the journey with Christ, we Protestants look at communion as an invitation, which our Catholic sisters and brothers would never embrace. But we look at it as an invitation. We think that the experience of Christ, the experience of the local church, the experience of what's going on in worship will be meaningful to you. And if you want to respond to how meaningful that is by coming forward with communion, that's great. They're looking, but we look at that as kind of initiation with the walk with Christ, where our Catholic sisters and brothers, they would be more of a looking at it as, okay, you've had some experiences and you've demonstrated your faith. You've already confessed Christ as your Savior publicly by joining the church, and then communion is open to you. So that's the difference between open and closed communion, is who's invited and what it takes to get there. Why we practice it once a month, where, again, it's kind of interesting where we practice open communion, but we do it once a month, where our Catholic sisters and brothers practice closed communion, but they do it at every service. So it's a little bit of a different approach, I guess you would say. The reason that we do it once a month, usually in the Protestant churches, is because we want to allow room for other experiences. If you go to a Catholic church, the experience, again, I can't say this across the board, but for the most part, the experience of worship in the Catholic Church is going to be the same yesterday, today, tomorrow, as it always will be. But we in the Protestant Church believe there are a variety of experiences that should move you close to Christ, including music and preaching and response, mission, evangelism. We think there's a lot of things out there, a lot of possible experiences. We don't want to limit it to just one. You know, to us, to we Protestants, it sounds very works righteousness, which means I have to do something in order to achieve my faith, rather than knowing that Christ has done it for me. And so we want those other experiences to be a part of your walk with Christ. We don't want to be just like, I had the wafer and I had the shot glass and I'm good. We Protestants want it to be more than that, and we want it to be an experience that you'll look forward to. But we don't want that to be the kind of capstone experience. We want that to be one amongst many experiences, where our Catholic sisters and brothers elevate the view of that, which is why they won't let just anyone take it, and so on and so forth. So it's in that kind of myriad of experiences of a walk with Christ that we grow, and that's why we only do it once a month, because we don't want it to become rote. We don't want it to become habit. We want communion to be one amongst a variety of experiences, not just the. That's the goal we're trying to get to. So that's why we differ a little bit on that. Those are good questions, guys. I appreciate that. And that's, if you got another question, whether it's on worship or not, that's fine. Go ahead and type it in there. I like being able to answer these, because it's I want to talk about what you want to talk about. This podcast or this live stream belongs as much to you as it does to me. So I'm glad to share that with you. And that's why we look at, when you're talking about sacraments, we only recognize two. Communion, obviously. We also recognize baptism. Now, baptism is a little, actually radically different than communion. Baptism is, once you're baptized, you're kind of good. It's kind of a recognition of God's grace in your life, and that's what the water represents, the cleansing of sin and all those different things. But baptism is, obviously we don't have a baptism service, once a month like we do communion. And Parker says he typed a question in Google Forms earlier. Well, let me click. I forgot that I put that link in there. Let me click over and get that. But baptism, the reason we only celebrate it once is because it's a recognition, whether you're an infant or whether you are an adult or a believer or a child or whatever you are. It gives everybody a chance to express, the promises that I'm going to make to God, of faithfulness and different things. But it also allows, I thought I did this already. It also allows us the chance to, this is the wrong thing. Oh, I'm sorry, everybody. It allows us a chance to express what that's going to mean, in life. So the reason that we don't baptize more than once like we do with communion is because baptism, you don't have to do it twice, or you don't have to do it multiple times, or you don't have to do it every time you're together, because that suggests that the recognition of God's grace that you were looking for in the first place didn't work. So therefore, we have to do it again. And that's not at all how we are looking at it, in that, because it's so important to us to recognize that what's going on and the important things that are happening are God's prerogative, and God is doing them, instead of thinking that we're doing something, or it's because of our greatness or our faithfulness or our whatever. It doesn't really work that way. And we want to be able to, how you're trying to think of something and how to do something, and because you're trying to do it and do two things at once, you can't. You ever have that? I hate computers, man. I passionately hate them. So, all right. Do I have any viewers left? Man, we're shedding viewers like crazy. All right. My communion has been feet washing, humble. Yeah, well, that's the way Jesus looked at it. He put those two together, and feet washing is an act of service, an act of humility, and service to your brother, as Jesus always taught. The difference between baptism and dedication. The reason we in the Methodist Church struggle with that is because we in 1968 were the merger of two different denominations. We were the Methodist Church, and we were the Evangelical United Brethren Church. And Don, always with the political commentary. We have, you're not wrong, by the way, Don, so thanks for that. the difference between dedication and baptism. The reason we struggle with that is in the EUB church, they dedicated babies, and then you were baptized later in life when you were able to make the choice for your own. Where we in the Methodist church were like, if your parents are willing to raise you to come to know what that means, recognition of God's grace and prevenient grace, which is grace before we're aware of it, we can baptize, and then you're going to raise, and then later on we'll be in confirmation. You can learn what that means, but that doesn't make God's grace any less evident to you, which makes you eligible for baptism. That's the difference. The only difference in the Methodist church, hang on, I got to make sure I say this right. We don't dedicate babies in the Methodist church because we say either baptism or there's really no other thing to do. Because we know that all children are precious to God and precious to their parents and precious to this congregation. Absolutely, positively. But we don't dedicate because we don't have a separate service for that. So if you want to have a baby baptized, you certainly can do that and take upon yourself the promise to raise the child in such a way that someday the child will be in confirmation and learn what grace is and learn what it's all about. Obviously, trying to explain that to a little kid, trying to explain it to adults sometimes is tough. But when the child is old enough to kind of come together with what that means, the child's going to have to be a little bit older to do that. So that's why we don't dedicate. The difference is that we don't have a separate service of dedication anymore. We don't do that. If you want to wait for your children to be baptized when they're older, it's entirely fine with us. That's no problem. Or if you'd rather have a child baptized as an infant, as I was, and as many, many, many people are, that's also fine. It's just a recognition of God's grace in your life, which is going to be present whether you're baptized or not. It's baptism is just a moment to recognize that publicly, that God's grace is a part of your life. And that's going to be true whether you're 3 months old or 3 years old or 30 years old. God's grace is there. But and baptism is a recognition of that fact. And that's why it's so special. All right. Amy Hogshead asked me about the Whoopi Goldberg comment on the Holocaust. I did hear about this. Whoopi Goldberg, just real quick, Whoopi Goldberg said that somehow the Holocaust, when they murdered 6 million Jews, wasn't about racism. I don't know how you can make a claim like that. I don't know how. I mean, I don't know. Nobody else was in that group, or at least it wasn't targeted toward any other group. I'm not saying no one else was there, but I feel like I'm not a big thing on people getting canceled for stuff, especially when they're just ignorant. But in her case, she has tried to cancel so many people on that show, The View, that she's on. She's tried to cancel so many people that I feel like it's time for her to take some of her own medicine. I believe she ought to be fired simply because that's what she has wanted to happen to other people who have done things not nearly as egregious as what she did. So I don't agree with her. Obviously, the Holocaust was a very racist thing to do. And I think she should be fired simply because that's what she would want to have happen to anybody else who said something equally as stupid from any other political perspective. All right, let me get to Parker's question here. Why do angels, miracles, and supernatural acts of God not seem so present today when they were in the Scripture? This is because as time goes on, mankind falls. Okay, wait a minute. I won't you let me look at it. There we go. Mankind. This is because as time goes on, mankind falls farther from God. I don't think that we see less miracles today because mankind has fallen further from God. And let's not forget, we have historical evidence that God one time got so fed up with this, he flooded the whole world and drowned us all out. Obviously, as bad as things are today, we haven't gotten that bad because that hasn't happened. Thanks be to God. And I know we're not going to have a flood again because of the rainbow. However, God has not decided to go with the scorched earth option again, and I'm super happy about that. I think the reason that we don't see as many supernatural things today, well, it's going to sound like a cop-out answer, and I apologize for that. But I would say the reason we don't see them as much today is we don't call them that anymore. We still see them. In fact, I would contend we see them more often today We just don't call them that anymore. Um, you know, this became very real to me. It was a number of years ago. I think I probably told the story before. Uh, this young couple was in my church, and husband and wife, and the wife had an appendicitis. And I can remember going in there, and her husband was there, and he and I were kind of friends. We were cutting up and joking. She was in misery. I mean, the poor lady, and she just was in agony. But it was no big deal because they took her up to surgery, and they took the appendix out. Now, again, 100 years ago, we would have been planning a funeral while we were standing there. So I would call that a miracle because that was something that enabled. That's something that happened. Now we can explain how it happened, how surgery and anesthetic and antibiotics and all these different things work together to allow her to survive. I would still call that a miracle. I would still call that supernatural origin, and so I would say we still see those kinds of things today because we're so smart that we decided that we can explain them. Which many cases we can explain how they work. I don't think that's any less miraculous, but I say we still see them. I think what we're looking for is we're looking for the big splash, the big idea of this great thing has happened and there's no other way it can happen and there's no explanation for it. I think as soon as we think we can explain something, how something works, like how does taking an antibiotic um, how does taking an antibiotic make me get over being sick or whatever? That's a miracle. And just because I can explain how it works doesn't make it any less miraculous. So I'd say we still see those kinds of things today. People who, again, not all that long ago, would have been given death sentences because of physical things were happening. Now, just minor procedure and they're fine. Not all the time, but and miracles didn't happen all the time either. But I would say that we still see miracles. We just call them by other names, and it's dangerous to do that because we're willing to attribute fault to God. We ought to occasionally also attribute credit to God because that thing does happen. And look, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Bad things do happen. Of course, bad things happen. We live in a broken and fallen world, so of course things are going to go wrong and things are going to not be what we wish they were. Of course, if that wasn't the case, if we lived in a world where nothing bad ever happened, then what would be the point of heaven? We'd already be there. And we need something to strive for. We need something to look forward to. And look, I'm going to be first one to tell you, I wished I lived in a world where bad things didn't happen. Everything from minor inconveniences like ridiculous snowfall to really bad things like the death of children. Which is the most regrettable, terrible thing that could happen. We live in a world where bad things happen all the time. I wake up and my back hurts or something, and going through my day, and we live in a world where these things happen, and if we didn't live in a world where bad things happened, then what would be the point of heaven? What was Jesus actually saving us from if this place was already perfect? I know, seems like a little bit of a cop out, but that's the way I look at it. And Scott, here I'm getting ahead of myself. Um, I the question that Scott's asking here is why did my 2-year-old die? First of all, I didn't know that happened to you, so I'm very, very sorry about that. But we live in a world where awful, terrible things happen, and we live in a world that is broken. We live in a world that hurts people. We live in a world where children who are innocent are born with complications that can lead to these kind of things. Again, I don't know what the circumstances were around your child passing away, but I don't know why. I don't know why these bad things happen or are allowed to happen, or maybe we can have a little bit of a bad thing like a snowstorm, but maybe avoid some of the worst things, of course, like that. Why does God set a boundary on that? I don't know. I wished I did. But and I know I don't need to explain this to you, Scott. That child may be gone, but that child is neither forgotten nor is she gone forever, or he gone forever, because there'll be a time when you'll be reunited. And I know a lot of people who are going to be meeting children they never got to meet on the other side, and that's going to be a very special day. Time with again, and I know I go back to this all the time, but I'm always struck by that passage from Revelation 21 where John sees the vision and he's looking into heaven, and it's just fantastic and it's wonderful. And he says, "Gosh, I'm like, John, tell us what's there, dude." And what's he say? He said, "I saw no death, no sorrow, no crying, no pain." I want to know about flying cars and stuff, but no, he's writing about that. And I think the reason that it struck him is that what was missing was so incredibly absent that its absence was tangible. I mean, that's how not there it was. And boy, I tell you what, if that doesn't get you excited about going to heaven, I don't know what would. Pain is so amazingly absent that you don't even see it anymore, and no one cries, no one dies. No one has sorrow. I mean, lots of things can cause sorrow, but that's what John looked into heaven, Revelation 21, and that's what he did not see. And I think that's an amazing thing not to see. And I'll tell you right now, this guy right here, and none of you who are in the chat here right now have any idea what that looks like. I have never seen a situation that was lacking death, sorrow, crying, and pain, because everything has death, sorrow, crying, and pain in it. Everything, without exception. Yet, for some reason, when John looked there, he got a glimpse of a situation that did not exist. And what a day of blessing that will be. So, very good. You're welcome, Scott, and thanks for asking the question, buddy. I appreciate that, and I certainly miss you and Jan being here in church. I hope you guys are doing well, and hopefully, once Mother Nature stops being a jerk, we can get you back here. Angie says, we're reading the book by Billy Graham, Who's in Charge of a World That Suffers. Very good book. You can join our class for great discussion. What group are you reading that with, Ange? Yeah, you can hardly go wrong. I mean, when it comes to people who are writing things, authors, there's like the Apostle Paul, and then there's Billy Graham. I mean, he's way up there. So, yeah, I bet it is a good discussion. Oh, Jack's class. Okay. Yeah, on Sunday mornings they meet across the hallway from my office here. So, okay, well, let's see here. I think we're about ready to wrap up, unless somebody else has got something they want to bring up. I'll ask one last question. I'd love it if things were get better or get better soon. But would you guys be interested if we did another one of these? Maybe not tomorrow night, but if this bad weather kind of lingers on a few days, maybe I can do another one. If you guys would be interested in that, drop a comment. If not, that's fine too. But I know people can get really lonely during times like this, and I thought maybe this is the only face I got to offer you. So I was hoping maybe watching my face talk to you would make you feel not quite so lonely out there, because it feel very isolated. And I don't want that for anybody. So yeah. All right. Well, anybody else got anything? All right. Thanks, you guys. Anybody got anything else for the good of the order? You want to throw anything in? I want you all to be amazingly, very, very careful out there. If you wouldn't mind, if you can get to the like button, which is about right down there, if you could click a like for me, and that just promotes our channel, I would really appreciate that. And appreciate you guys being on here with me. So don't be lonely. I don't know if I'll do one of these again tomorrow night. I don't want to see what's going on, but I don't know if situation doesn't improve, maybe I will be here tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, I appreciate you guys all coming out and being a part of the conversation. Thanks for Parker for being my interviewee there a little bit ago, and thanks to Don, who's upstairs working hard on those rooms. You guys are really going to enjoy the third floor once it's done. He's got looking just absolutely fantastic up there. So appreciate that. You're welcome, Kelly. Thanks for tuning in. You're welcome, Lisa. Thank you. Appreciate you guys being here. So yeah. So now I get to put all my stuff back on and walk home. I'm super excited for that. So all right, I want you guys all to be really careful out there. Do not go out unless you absolutely have to. And if any of you need anything, you all know how to get in touch with me. and I'll see what I can do for you and help out in any way I can, because that's just how we roll. That's how communities get through times like this, is by working together. So if you guys need something, please let me know, and we'll do our best to try to accommodate whatever requests you may have. So appreciate you guys. I love you all very much. Again, please stay safe, stay warm, and be careful about eating too much, because it's going to be bikini season here before you know it. But that's just how it rolls. So, all right, everybody, you guys have a great evening. Kind of wind down, go get some sleep. Again, I can't say enough. Be very careful out there, and we'll see y'all soon. And this is how I used to close these things. Go wash your hands.